We are ready to proceed with our first case. I think that's a medical parole, Mr. Harold Jenkins, DOC number 563-535. It's my understanding Mr. Jenkins is hard of hearing.
Very hard.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So I will proceed as normal. I will just read the information into the record describing his why he's here, and then Ms. Park, if I just turn it over to you for you just to present the reason for the medical parole request.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so this is Harold R. Jenkins. DOC number is 563-535. He's classified as a first felony offender. He's here this morning. He's for an aggravated rape conviction. He was sentenced November 12, 2009 to life. So he is here. The penitentiary is asking for consideration for a medical parole. Ms. Park, we did view the videos that was provided by you. So we do have that information. So if you want to just kind of do a high level summary.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins has lived in the skilled nursing unit for 2 to 3 years. He's 88 years old and he has a number of health problems. He has a history of strokes, high blood pressure. He's insulin dependent diabetic. He's had multiple strokes, and he has a irregular heart rhythm that causes him to be on anticoagulation. But for the last 3 years, he's not been able to take care of himself. He is essentially bedridden. He does get up with some assistance to the wheelchair, but the orderlies need to help him get up. They need to bathe him, dress him. He is incontinent of urine and stool. He is able to feed himself. Most of his problems are age-related deficits that he has. He has some cognitive deficits, though he does know where he's at, name, that sort of thing. And his condition is not going to get any better. He is going to require nursing care around the clock for the remainder of his life.
Thank you. So you said he has lived in the nursing unit for 2 to 3 years. And basically, I think I understood, really the only thing he can do for himself is feed himself. And then he requires assistance and everything else. All right. Let me just mention that we do have with us today on the Zoom call, we have Mr. Bryant Clark, St. Tammany's District Attorney's Office, and Ms. Angela Jenkins. Both of them indicated they'd like to speak in opposition. But first, let's hear from, could we hear from Warden Hooper?
Yes, ma'am. He's pretty much refused all programs. He has not completed any of the sex offense treatment programs. The only write-up he had was in 2011. And there are victims noted in the record as well.
What was that? So you said 2011 was the only write-up?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Are there any questions, my colleagues? Seeing none, I would like to call on Mr. Clark, the DA's input.
Thank you, Ms. Renata. Just briefly, on this case, as noted in our letter, the District Attorney's Office for St. Tammany does oppose any parole in this case. Obviously, the offense in this case is quite heinous. This is an aggravated rape of a mentally challenged stepdaughter with an IQ of 58, I believe, and also suffered from Asperger's syndrome. As noted by the warden, it appears that Mr. Jenkins has not made any attempts at any kind of rehabilitation, sex offender treatment, anything of that nature. I think simply to allow him, based solely on age and mental health and physical health conditions, to now be paroled in light of such a egregious and heinous crime that was committed in this case would be something that would be counterproductive to the victim and would only serve to re-victimize the victim in this case, have them have to know that the punishment that was given was never fully carried out. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll hear from Miss Angela Jenkins.
I sent my letter for what I wanted to state, but I don't think that he deserves any comfort, not even for a minute, outside of what could be provided in prison. I promised my daughter, who he raped repeatedly, that he would be there until he died. And I feel that that was what he was sentenced, and that's what should take place. I don't think that that promise should be turned into a lie by changing that at this point, because he is old and has health problems. I have health problems. You know, I mean, that's it.
Also, in addition to the opposition expressed this morning by the DA, we do have in the record opposition that's been expressed by the sheriff's office. And I'm not sure, Ms. Park, if Mr. Jenkins is able to communicate, if there's a statement that he's able to tell us, we hear it now.
We're gonna write it down for him.
All right.
Make a statement. Cindy can't write this one.
Say something for this,
Yes. And to the parole board. You have to say it. You have to tell them.
The crime I committed.
Basically, he's trying to say he's sorry for the crime he committed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. I think at this time, we'll be voting. I'll go first. His case was assigned to me. And I realize that Mr. Jenkins has some serious health issues. But based on, as I looked at his record, it was concerning to me that his age at the time of the crime occurred over a 4-year period. And as indicated by Warden Cooper, he's refused all educational opportunities. Based on the opposition that's been expressed here today and in the record, my vote today is to deny medical parole. Mr. Roshan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Jenkins, based upon express opposition in light of rehabilitative programs and no sex offender treatment, my vote is to deny your request.
Mr. Mirabella.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to thank the opposition who spoke out today to give us the information. Mr. Jenkins, based upon everything that my colleagues have said, and the fact that your age and the fact that the victims have a right to some peace and comfort in knowing that you were still in jail. Your age at the time you committed this crime, I realize your health, but my vote likewise is to deny. Good luck to you.
So today, the medical parole for Mr. Harold Jenkins is being denied.
No.
Okay.
Wow. You know, we have seen medical parole hearings before, and oftentimes they do let them out. But in this situation, you know, they really put the victims first. And congratulations, DA Brian Clark. We've seen you more often now, going back into these hearings, that you would show up as well. You know, if there were no victim opposition, I think they might have granted him anyways, except for the idea that he refused all programming. You know how they like the programs. We'll unpack this case. We have the court transcripts. Thank you, Richard. And it is vile. It is vile. Today he is 89 years old as of today, August 28th, 2023. And what's interesting about this to me is that, you know, we know that there's a lot of influence for these inmates to get parole because Angola, which is where he is a publicly traded entity. It's profit driven. You can buy stock in Angola, or I'm sure it goes under a different name, probably own a conglomerate of a bunch of prisons. And it's very expensive for them to house him. So they try to do everything that they can to get him out. But in this case, money was not the driving factor. So let's congratulate everyone, in my opinion. So they stated further up here that her IQ is equivalent, I think they said, to about a 7 or 8-year-old. She liked dolls. She liked fictional characters like Tinkerbell, Hannah Montana, Strawberry Shortcake. They went to trial. The victim's mother testified at trial. You could see what it meant for her to make sure that he stayed locked up. The victim's birthday was 1984. And this victim was not the biological child of the defendant when she married on August 16, 2001. So it was her stepdaughter. According to AJ, the victim had suffered from Asperger's syndrome and mild mental retardation since birth. She had been in special education her entire life. And depending on the subject, the victim worked at a level of kindergarten and second grade and had the mentality of a 6 or 7-year-old. She told her mother that he was putting things down between his legs inside her. She told her mother that she scratched the defendant, hit him, and told him no, but that he held her down by the throat. The victim indicated during the encounters stuff did not come in her, but on her. The victim told her mother that it happens a bunch of times. I'm quoting this, a bunch and bunches of times, while her mother was at nursing school. AJ explained that the defendant had supervised the victim while AJ attended nursing school from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So here she is, she gets married, she has a disabled child, she's going to school to become a nurse to better their life, and this cockroach is at home doing this to a mentally challenged child. You can't make it up. The victim also testified she identified photographs of her bed with a doll, Tinkerbell, pillowcase, and strawberry shortcake sheets on bed. She identified the defendant in court and testified that her mother was at nursing school. He had put his thing inside her. She explained that she had told him to stop doing it and had slapped him, but he continued anyways. When asked if anything came out, she replied that stuff that looked like the defendant told her that he wanted her to have a baby, but not to tell anyone because he did not want to get in trouble. She testified that the things defendant did to her happened a whole bunch of times and hurt her really bad. Can't make it up. The state also played at trial videotape on July 2nd, 2008, interviewing the victim. In the interview, the victim expressed worry about going to jail. She thought she was in trouble. She pointed to her throat and indicated that her mother's husband, Harold, had made it so that she could not breathe. She stated that he had put his thing in her and told her that he wanted to have a baby. He was doing this to her when she was 20, 21, and 22 years old. But remember, she had the IQ of a 7-year-old. She indicated that stuff, right. It's, she had a level of competency at a first percentile level of people in her age group with an IQ of 63 and a performance IQ of 58. It's great that the court gave him a life sentence. You know, we've seen so many cases where the same thing happens and they get just a handful of years. So I just, there's something about the court being disgusted about this. Okay, yeah, here's what he claimed. They played an audio recording where the defendant admitted that he had sex with the victim while her mother was at school. He claimed, however, that he never forced the victim to do anything. No, he never forced her to do anything. And never had oral or anal with her. He claimed that the victim would walk out of the bathroom naked and would call him into the bedroom. It's her fault. He claimed that she would ask him to feel her. I'm not going to repeat the rest. That's his defense. Can you imagine? Like, how dumb is he? What is it? That's his defense? What? How does his attorney even say, let's do that as a defense? Oh, right. Well, that was his defense. That's what he told the detectives. That wasn't, they played the recording, right? But he told that to detectives. Of course, they kept it. They gave him life. And here he is at the end, nearing the end of his life. And they said, no way, Roche, you are going to, you're going to die in prison. And frankly, as long as there are victims that come out and say stay in there, then this is clearly the right move. It's not about being wanting to watch someone suffer. it's about just seeing justice through to the end, in my opinion. But I'll put the links in the description. And with that, I'll let you go.